Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Hall of Famer, soon to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning joins us now. Peyton, thanks so much for your time this morning. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Peyton, is it true that Stoke kidnapped and duct taped you to his dining room table to prevent you from joining our show yesterday?
That would be false. It's one of the few things about Stokely that probably is false, but that was not true.
Hey, can you walk us through the last few days? Because we watched it all unfold when they shot that piece and showed it to us with all the coaches showing up at Mile High Stadium, of course. But you knew at that point. That's what it was hard for us to understand. That was how long ago did you guys tape that? When did that all occur at Mile High?
Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. That was 2 Fridays ago, and obviously they had several people to go to and see between, I think, Friday and maybe Monday. The fact they were kind of doing these personal visits at someone's home, or for me at Mile High. So pretty amazing that it kind of stayed under wraps. I mean, it seems like some things were starting to leak out, but not really the details of how each person was finding out. And these days with cell phone cameras and whatnot, it's kind of shocking. But everybody had to sign some kind of paperwork. I think all the coaches that came to me had to sign some type of confidentiality part of it. Maybe all the other families of the other inductees did as well. So they were just trying to keep how it went down under wraps until Saturday night.
I know they like to keep this stuff a secret, but a lot of guys might sweat out their Hall of Fame induction. You weren't one of those guys, right?
Well, listen, I never assumed anything. A lot of people would talk to me about it and tell me kind of their thoughts about it. And I don't know. I just never really drank that Kool-Aid. You sign some autographs for somebody, somewhere along the way. A lot of times some of these people would try to sneak in like a Pro Football Hall of Fame helmet for me to sign. I just said, no, I'm not signing that. That's not right. So I was always, just very, kind of uncomfortable talking about it because other people would assume. And now that it's official, obviously I'm very honored. But it's not something that it's really thought a whole lot about. It's not something when you're playing that you think about. You're sort of focusing on the present, not looking too far back, not looking too far ahead. But since this announcement, it has been a time for me to kind of look back and think about some of the fun memories and think about the people that have been along this football ride with me.
Peyton, it's interesting you say it that way. When you're playing the game and you're in it, you're just trying to win. I mean, every single year you're trying to get to a Super Bowl. You're trying to win it, and you think about those things down the road. But we have Jeff Legwold on every single week, and we were talking to him. Yeah, it lasted like 13 seconds. I think they said your name, then the hands went up, and then they moved on to somebody else, and that was it. And so obviously it's a no-brainer. We've been talking about that, but I mean, when you do look back now, I mean, it's got to be amazing. You think about from the start coming out of Tennessee to where you ended up in a Super Bowl championship with the Broncos. I mean, it's a remarkable career. A lot of guys would just die to have that.
Well, thank you. Certainly the way that I found out, being at the stadium, the video kind of, showed all the coaches that came out to see me. And then right after those coaches that were in person, my Tennessee coaches and Tony Dungy and Coach Kubiak. And then on the video screen, they had a message from my high school coach, from Jim Moore, who was my first coach, from John Fox. And so really right in front of me, either in person or on video, was like 30 years of coaching since 1991 when I started playing high school football. And so it does really take you back. And it's just made me, feel very grateful and fortunate to have had great coaches and play with great teammates and a great support system. And so feel very fortunate.
What is it about Coach Cutcliffe? Even when you were here in Denver, you would go to Duke and you'd work out with him. You've had a long-standing relationship. What jives between the two of you?
Yeah, I think probably for the golfers out there, kind of related to that old swing coach maybe that helped you at a young age that you always can go back to and sort of get your game back on track. And for me and for Eli, Coach Cutcliffe was my offensive coordinator at Tennessee. He was Eli's head coach at Ole Miss, but quarterback coaching was kind of his MO, and so once he's your coach, he's always your coach, and so Eli and I would just kind of go back to him in the off season, wherever he was, but mainly at Duke, and just kind of train with him like we were 18-year-old freshmen in college again, and working on a lot of the basic fundamentals of playing quarterback. And I think it was just those basics is what we needed, especially as you get into your 12th and 13th and 14th seasons, where a lot of quarterbacks mechanics begin to slip and they stop working on their footwork and start working on their fakes, and then just slowly their game kind of begins to slide. And so I think he was just the perfect person for that, to just stay on us about doing those little things right in order to keep our game sharp.
Visiting with the soon-to-be Hall of Famer, the actual induction this summer in Canton, Ohio, chock full of Broncos. Peyton Manning on with us. Peyton, we saw you at the Super Bowl in that beautiful orange jacket, by the way. We know you got a close look there at Tom Brady, and afterwards somebody asked Tom about your Hall of Fame, and he said, quote, Peyton was someone I always admired as a quarterback. We're around the same age. He's actually a few years older than me, but I always looked up to Peyton because he was a little older than me and always doing things the right way. Are you as surprised as the rest of us that this guy at the age of 43 is still doing what he's doing?
Well, sure. I think everybody is, but being impressed is probably the overriding sentiment of just how hard he's worked and how well he's handled that transition in a pandemic off season, and really bringing his leadership and experience to that team. And took him a while, kind of early in the season, to get on the same page. And it's like the first half of the season was kind of like their off season that they missed due to the pandemic. And then you saw once they kind of got on the same page with the receivers and the coaches that their level of play really went sky high, and they just took it all the way through the playoffs. And that was just a dominant performance by their offensive line, by their defense the other day, and Tom played smart and made some great throws, especially down there in the red zone, and that was the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think of you, though, in the same kind of context. I mean, eventually Arian said, all right, Tom, do your thing, right? And if you've got Peyton Manning in Denver and he wants to play the game a certain way and he can make it happen, let him do his own thing and the results will follow. It seems like it was kind of the same deal here for you.
Well, when you're in your, for Tom, it's 20-something year. For me, in my, going into my, 15th, 16th, 17th year here, it's hard to unlearn kind of your old system just as much as it is to learn an entirely new system. And so I think the best way to kind of fix that problem is to sort of have a hybrid playbook of plays that, for me, that I used to run in Indianapolis and kind of new plays here in Denver. And so that's what the Broncos did for me, and that was probably a big part of me coming here, is that I knew they were willing to do that. Not every team is interested in doing that, and I think Tampa, probably wanted to do that, just didn't quite know how to do it because they didn't get a chance to know each other in the off season. I mean, those are things you can figure out in the months of April and May and June. Hey, these are plays that Tom likes. These are plays that Bucks really likes. Let's try to get these all in our offense. And you could see it early in the season. They were just trying different things and weren't playing as well. Tom didn't look too comfortable. And so, but like I said, once they kind of figured it out, somewhere around that mid-season point, Tom felt much more comfortable. You could see that, and he played much better. But a quarterback's not comfortable. Usually you just don't play well, and that's because you're thinking a lot. You're not really reacting. You're kind of slow in your progression, slow in your decision-making, and it's not a very fun way to play quarterback.
Peyton Manning with us. I know you got the Peyton's Places show on ESPN Plus. You're doing a lot of stuff with that. But is there any part of you now, a couple of years removed, that is looking to get back in football in some capacity?
I kind of take it 1 year at a time. I don't really have a 5 or 10 year long range plan. To tell you the truth, and sometimes some new opportunities come available, and you kind of take a look at them. I've said yes to some things. I've said no to some things, and still like kind of being in charge of my own schedule, I guess, and being able to kind of protect some free time for for Ashley and I and our kids, and some of the fun things they're able to be a part of. So, I have not officially ruled out anything, forever. I guess I've just kind of ruled it out maybe for that year. So, still enjoy the game, enjoy being a part of it in different ways, like you said, doing kind of this thing for the ESPN with the history of the game. I've enjoyed that, and just being an ambassador of the game, and proud to be representing the Broncos and the Colts down in Ohio in August.
Yeah, that's the misnomer. Everybody keeps asking, how's he going to go into the Hall? Is it going to be the Colts or the Broncos? You don't get into the Hall representing a certain team. It's just the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's how it works. So Peyton, I have to ask you this. You've remained in Denver. You could live anywhere you want. You can live in Tennessee, New Orleans. Why Denver?
Well, we like it here. That would be the main reason. Moving is a pain in the butt. I would probably add that in. And we were pretty entrenched there in Indianapolis, and moving out of there when we came out to Denver in 2012 was a pretty big ordeal, and not something we were looking to do again right away, just to do it. But we really enjoyed our time here, and came out here to when I came to play, just because I think you got to live where you're playing, and then ended up playing 4 seasons, and kids start to get in school, and they have friends, and you get to know their friends' parents and whatnot, and now all of a sudden you feel kind of settled in. But really, just a testament to Denver, the city, and the people for making us feel welcome. And I feel like that's kind of Denver's MO. A lot of my friends aren't from here; they have moved here and stayed here. And not every city is kind of welcoming like that. But I think that's a real credit to Denver that kind of letting in some of these outsiders and making them feel at home. And so that's why it's still home for us, and we really enjoy it.
Peyton, appreciate your time this morning. Last thing from me here, and that is, we were talking about it. Brady says he's coming back for another year at the age of 44. But whether you're involved in any kind of capacity in football in the future, what is it about the game? What is it that you miss perhaps at this point most and sort of keeps drawing you back to the game of football when, like you said, you like your own schedule, you could easily ride off into the sunset? What is it just about the pro sport aspect that kind of keeps you going and you never say never?
Well, it's a great game. It's the ultimate team game, in my opinion. It's a classic display of teamwork and everybody kind of having a role to play in order to try to accomplish that goal of being a champion. There's disappointment along the way that kind of see how you handle that and see if you can overcome it and maybe be better the next year for it. If you're having a tough day, your teammates can help you out, and at the same time you can lift someone else's spirits up if they're struggling. So that's what I've always liked about it, and kind of been on the player side for a long time now, kind of on the outside. You're still a part of it. You understand how players feel, and I've been on both sides of that game the other day. Know how the Chiefs feel and know how the Bucs feel, and all the people and all the emotions that come with that. The fans this year, I think everybody has understood the importance of the fans. I know players have missed the fans. I know just watching the game, it's not nearly as fun. Even that Super Bowl the other day was not nearly the atmosphere that it normally is. And John Lynch and I got to go down to the field, and they sort of recognized us during the game, and you could just tell it just wasn't the same energy. So I think having the fans back will be so important next year, and such a welcome sight for so many people. So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer to say that it's a great game. It's been a big part of my life. The people that I've gotten to know on this life, football life, have been the best part about it. And fortunately, even though you don't play anymore, I still get to have those friendships and relationships with all those people. And to me, that's my greatest takeaway.
Peyton, one last thing for you. We talked to Ryan Jensen, who was the center for the Bucs in the Super Bowl, and he shared a story about the first time he found out Tom Brady was being signed to the Bucs, and in the initial conversation he said Tom Brady FaceTimed him, and in that first conversation, within the first few minutes, he talked about this.
We talked about the normal conversation, oh, hey, how you doing? Where are you going to live at? And then immediately got into business. He goes, all right, so I got to ask you about your sweat situation. And I knew it was coming because everybody's like, oh yeah, Tom's going to make you shove a towel down your ass. And I'm like, So immediately, jumped right into it.
So do you have that conversation initially with your centers about how to handle that or what?
Yeah, it's important. That's priority number one. For sure. That's much more important to me than where the guy's going to live. I care about my centers, but I'm not sure I really care about what part of the city they're living in. So, that's, you play with different guys, and some guys sweat more than others, and so you make them change their football pants, which is extremely frustrating for a center. He's got to take his cleats off. He's got to get retaped. It's a lot of inconvenient things, but nothing worse than a sweat-filled football coming up to you. So that's a smart move by Tom Miller.
Peyton, we'll leave you with this. We've seen you play golf a few times in the last year. More nervous on the first tee box on national television or right before a Super Bowl? Where are the nerves lingering more for you?
Not even a close comparison. More nervous on the golf course. Football, At least I thought that I knew what I was doing. That's not always true, but golf, I definitely don't know what I'm doing out there, and have no business being playing in the same time as Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. And so I should have quit while I was ahead after beating Mickelson and Brady. I should have retired. I came back for more and lost to Charles Barkley, and it just doesn't get any worse than that.
No doubt about it.
I'm definitely out of that business now.
Yeah, at least your pants didn't rip. You were in good shape. It's all
good point.
That's right.
Hey,
That's right.
Peyton, thanks for a few minutes this morning, man. We're happy for you. We can't wait to celebrate the Hall of Fame this summer.
Thanks a lot, guys. All the best.
All right.
Hall of Famer.
Peyton
Manning.
freaking Manning, who joined us. Finally made it happen.
There
I
you
know
go.
what you thought. You thought I was going to go. You're still driving that Buick, but I didn't.
It would have
that's
been.
right, he
It
did
would
have
have been
the
a good
Buick.
question. It would have been.
Nope. I told you. I'm not giving you any more ammunition. Nope.
I was half expecting. Listen, I know we got a break. I was half expecting one of us to butcher something, but the butchery took place at the beginning of that interview when our boy Raj had him on a graphic as a photo ball player, not a football player, pro photo ball player, Peyton Manning. That's how it was spelled.
Is that what he played? Good.
Yeah, photo ball.
Sweet.
We strive for
Outstanding,
excellence
Raj.
around here. That's it.
Funny, Raj. Now he wants to beat up the computer.
This is a Hall of Famer, Raj. Get it together.
So mad.
Back in 3 minutes.